to the Toppy Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams, and today's video is the announcement that Richarlison has left Everton Football Club to join Tottenham Hotspur. And just my reaction to it, your reaction. We've got a poll like we always do. So kicking it off, guys. I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised, are they? He's been a player that I think since we bought him, he's been linked. He was linked with a move away last summer after Carlo Ancelotti left. He's been linked with a move away for the last couple of years. I think he gave. There's rumours, isn't there, that he agreed he'd stay after Ancelotti and see what we could do, push on and do. There were rumours of that. We hired Rafa Benitez and had an awful season, just avoiding relegation. And I mean, fair play to Richarlison. He's then decided, you know what, I'm going to have to leave. I've got big ambitions and the club aren't going to fill them anytime soon, which I don't think any of us can argue with personally. It looks like he's going to move. There were rumours that it was all dependent on what the big movers were this summer. So the Mbappe transfer that never happened, because there were links with him and PSG at one point. There were links with him and Real Madrid once Carlo had gone back there. I think it's a bit gutting that he's gone to a Premier League club, first of all. I think that's a little bit gutting. I think we all hoped, from what I can gather from Twitter and the comment section of these videos, the census was that we all knew he was going to go. We all just didn't think it was going to be to another Premier League club, especially not Tottenham. It's a bit annoying that Tottenham is a step up from us. Don't get me wrong, they're a good team, but they're not the Chelseas of the world or the Liverpool or Cities, although I don't think he'd go to Liverpool. And I don't think he's good enough for City. Tottenham there were a couple of years, 10, 15 years ago, where you'd argue Tottenham were a good team, but they weren't, during the Harry Redknapp era, but they weren't massively in front of us. They were still better than us, but they weren't massively jumped in front like the likes of Chelsea and even Arsenal during that period were. But now it shows a sign of the times. They are, a lot ahead of us. They've got Conte, they've got a good director of football, and they're making moves in the summer. Spurs, they really are splashing the cash, as to say. Personally, my thoughts. I'm a bit gutted. He was probably my favourite current Everton player, possibly maybe Seamus Coleman, just because of the nostalgia of what he gave me when I was growing up. In the same way I look at Baines and the likes of KO or Coleman. But Richarlison, as in terms of current, he was one of my favourites. He's probably my second favourite actually after Coleman. He's got the talent for one, and two, he gives it his all. I know people will say he was miserable and all this. I honestly think it's competitive nature. I think when you see that he looks like he spied himself and spied his backside, I think he has. Because he's not happy with either the performance or his own performance or the team. A lot of the time I look at his face when we're losing, and it's the same face I pull at home. I'm fuming that we've lost, fuming that the results aren't going our way, or decisions or goals disallowed. I think he was a likable guy if he plays for your team. Going to Spurs, it'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes to play us again, because every other Premier League team's fans hate him. Because he's a snide, and I think that's why Everton fans like him as well. We love a snidey player, and he is a bit of a snidey player. He goes down, he looks for stuff. He only does what any other player does, by the way. When I say he goes down, he only does what Harry Kane does, and he gets called clever by Gary Neville on Sky Sports for doing it. but he's a wind-up merchant as well. He's on Twitter taking the mick out of rival fans on Twitter. So I am a bit gutted that he's left. I knew it was happening, but it still doesn't make it a little less gutting. The fee as well is apparently 50 million, rising to 60 million on add-ons. So, I mean, breaking even maybe, maybe that 10 million bonus from the add-ons. The fee, I think we'd have liked a little bit more, but it looks like we're taking a cut price, and I'll get onto that in the final bit of this, just the actual, well, not the final bit, but I'll get onto that in a minute about like the fee and the thoughts on the fee, and why we're doing that. But yeah, we did a poll on the Toffee Blue saying 50 million rising to 60 with add-ons for Richarlison. What are your feelings on this? Good or bad? So it's open for another 21 hours. 2,364 of you have voted. 29% said you like the fee. 71, including myself, said you don't. I just don't. I don't think we've made much profit on him. He was one of our biggest assets, more expensive assets, and we've not made the profit that I think we all wanted off him. And I think it's a sorry sign of the times. And I know a couple of people have mentioned it on Twitter, and it is. Obviously, roll it back 10 years ago. We're selling the likes of Wayne Rooney. We're selling the likes of Marouane Fellaini. We're selling our biggest assets to big clubs to keep afloat, to have money to spend. In comes Farhad Mishiri and his billions and billions. And I thought this was behind us, but due to FFP and stuff like that, it looks like we're now back to having to sell one of our biggest assets to the club. And I know people say no one's bigger than the club, and they're not. But it is just a shame that we're back to having to sell one of our better players to have to spend. And not through the scene of not having money, it's because of mismanagement of money that we're in this situation. And I think the cash was important, which is why we're not seeing swap deals. I think that is highlighted. It's the Premier League's version of FFP. And we need to be careful on it. And I think that's why the club have hung out for cash, because they need that money. So it's a real shame that that's how it's gone, and not because we're, on back to the days where we're on Bill Kenwright's purse strings, but we have the money. We just have mismanaged so badly over the last 4 or 5 years that this is the position we're in. And I'm gutted as well. I'm absolutely gutted. I mean, he was crucial for us as well at an important time. This season was a tough season. He was on Twitter telling fans, "Don't worry, we'll get out of this," and he did. And this season, no, word of a lie, has been a horrible, horrible season. I don't think anybody will argue it hasn't. But he's one of the very few that can hold their head high after this season. He played 30 games for us, got 10 goals, 5 assists. He did, that Crystal Palace game, he really put a shift in for that. Even the 3-2 loss to Brentford, he tried his all. Burnley, the 3-2 win, he gave it his all. The 3-2 loss, at Burnley. He really did, at games this season, try his best. The Chelsea game as well, that was an incredible game to watch. Probably one of the most iconic photos of this season is him throwing the flare. That whole Chelsea game, I watched the end of season review with James and Terry, and James is right. That Chelsea game alone had tons of moments for the Everton mismatch thing. But honestly, guys, it's sad to see him go. I thought these days were behind us. It's one of them. I'm really annoyed it's a Premier League club, because I think he's going to be. I don't think he'll celebrate when he scores against us, but I think he will be snide, because it's in his nature. And we need more players like that. I see loads of people say we need snidier players, nastier players, players with that type of attitude. It'd be interesting to see what the club do now. Now he's gone. It is a shame, but we can't get too hung up on these things. We need to move on very quickly. We've got takeover rumours and everything else. We need to get his replacement in. We've been linked with a couple of names. A couple of them are a bit fancy. I'm sure we'll get in. I'm sure there'll be a separate video on who to replace Richarlison, so I won't go into it too much. I know Emmanuel Dennis is highly rated. I've looked at his numbers. I've looked at his goals and assists. I've looked at every other stat as well on FBref. Very, very like for like, if not slightly more performing than Richarlison, even in defensive actions. I think he's like for like. So I'd happily have that. Maybe the club want to go, like, don't get me wrong, you could maybe go and try and get better, but if you want like for like at a low cut price, because Watford are looking to get rid of him for quite cheap as well, 20 million, he's worth the punt. But yeah, overall, guys, my thoughts on Richarlison and his Everton career. It's been a pleasure having him at the club. Played 152 games, scored 53 goals. His best season, I believe, for us was probably, it might be one of the Marco Silva seasons. In all honesty, under Ancelotti last year, he got 7 goals, 3 assists. The season before that, he got 13 goals, 3 assists. And then the season before that, under Silva, which is the one I'm on about, he got 13 goals, 1 assist. And I think Calvert-Lewin had a good season that season as well. That's probably his best season. He's, the highest he's reached for us is 13 goals. I know he likes to play up front, but he does more than that. His defensive actions throughout the years have been great. He was, like I said, he was crucial for us at a time we needed him. He promised us we'd get out of it, and he's done his best and succeeded in helping the club do that. Want to thank him for his time. I want to thank him for his time at the club. Wish him all the best in the future. But it's gutting. It's gutting. But like I said before, nobody's bigger than the club. The club have to move on now. They have to get his replacement in. I think fans are more devastated that we're back. One, he's a likable guy within the fans, and 2, that we're back at this position. I think it's more frustration, isn't it? But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think this might be a catalyst for summer moves. So watch this space. But that's my thoughts on Richarlison and his time in Everton. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Comment down below your thoughts on Richarlison. Give me your thoughts on the transfer fee, obviously. Your overall thoughts of him here. Are you gutted to see him go to a Premier League club, especially Tottenham Hotspur? Just give me your overall. And if you want to, you can rate his career out of 10 at Everton. I'd probably give it overall. I'd probably give it an 8 overall over the 4 years that he's been here. I brought him in 2018. It's now 2022. He's had 4 years at the club. I'd probably give him an 8. But let me know down below. I look forward to reading it, and I'll see you guys all very, very soon.